Well, it's about time to hunt some big scary things, harvest parts of their bodies to craft some crazy weapons and armor, all for the sake of humanity. Let's talk about this. The Dauntless gameplay footage here was fueled by Player One Coffee. Coffee made by gamers for gamers. Use the link in the description to get 5% off any of your purchases. So today we're going to be talking about an upcoming game for 2018. It's going to have you tracking these massive behemoths and working with your friends in order to take down the beasts so you can forge some awesome weapons and some crazy armor. And no, we're not talking about Monster Hunter World. We're talking about Dauntless. Dauntless is an up-and-coming free-to-play action RPG being developed by Phoenix Labs, where you can work with your friends or by yourself. It takes place after a cataclysmic event that has shattered the world into pieces and released these giant creatures known as behemoths. You play a slayer, and it's your job to hunt and kill these behemoths in order to protect the remaining humans. Now, this is a game I've actually been following for some time now, but as most of you know, with the free-to-play market for games, sometimes it can be a scary place to wander into. With great games like Gigantic and Paragon now being shut down, and others like Paladins, if some of my other videos didn't make apparent, stop focusing on quality of the game and start focusing on more things that can make them money. So I continued to follow development of this game for a while, and after careful consideration I decided I wanted to check it out and do some videos for the channel. Now, the first thing you're going to do whenever you get into this game is create your character. Now, the character creator on here is more of an ancestry system, so you'll choose two ancestors and that'll generate your character based on the two you picked. There are things you can change manually to make your character look more to your liking, but the ancestor system does add a little bit of lore to the game, which I felt was a nice touch. Now, when you get done making your character, you're going to jump into the world. It's going to start you off with some borrowed armor and weapons to help you get started. Now, I recommend you don't really commit to any of these or bother upgrading them, because you're going to be tossing them aside for newer and better weapons and armor ASAP. There are several different weapons for you to choose from. Now, your weapons are going to dictate your style in this game and your combos. Like with me, I honestly prefer the chain blades because it's really the only weapon that has any kind of ranged form of attack, but everybody's going to have their own styles and preferences. Now, the armor and weapons that you craft from the different creatures' parts will all have different attributes too. Some may grant you more damage to already damaged parts, some may deal more damage to head or limbs, some might stagger or interrupt a monster, some might cause or protect against different attributes like frost or electricity. But there's both give and take with all these. While some might give you resistance to frost, it also might make you more susceptible to damage from fire or any other kind of element. Now, the main central hub is the city of Ramsgate. Now, like most RPGs, NPC characters here will give you quests that you'll have to accept and complete in order to move forward with your progression. This is also where you'll depart for hunts, craft different items, gear, and open cores. Now, cores are sort of like loot boxes that you earn by completing tasks or leveling up. They contain cells. The cells can be used to socket into your weapons or armor to grant certain attributes such as like increased damage, increased movement speed, stamina regeneration, elemental attributes, etc. Now, when you initially depart for hunts, you can either already have a party formed from the social menu, or you can wait in the hunt lobby to have other people join in. There are different areas to hunt. The more you progress, the more areas become available, and everybody refers to this different levels of the behemoths as tiers. The tier will determine its behavior, its damage scaling, its armor scaling, and most importantly, its difficulty. And while you can technically take any of these hunts solo, if you're entering a new tier, it's always best not to jump in with any less than 3 people. Because when you go from one tier to another, the difficulty increases exponentially. Me, myself, I just went from tier 2 to tier 3 last week. And going from tier 2 to tier 3, it took me at least 3 or 4 tries just to take on a tier 3 monster and actually be able to walk away. And that was with a full party of 4 people. So they do get very, very, very much more difficult to defeat. And so that's why I say when you go to a new tier in this game, it's best to go in with a party, especially when you get to the higher tiers, because teamwork is necessary in this game. But at the core, this is the gameplay. You go into the city, you accept quests, and you go on these hunt for these monsters. It feels, to me, I never really got into the Monster Hunter games because they were so long and drawn out, they kind of got boring. I've played a couple of them on the 3DS, and I've got a couple friends that have played Monster Hunter World, and they're liking it. I'm thinking about getting it and testing it out, but I never really got into the Monster Hunter games. But a game I really did get into that's very similar to this is the God Eater franchise. Now, I played that on the Vita and then on the PS4, and I thought it was really fun. I liked it, and this feels a lot more like that, but with more of a stylized art form. And even though I really didn't showcase a lot on here, because there's really not a whole lot into the game yet, at least not that I've accessed, the developers are constantly posting about new lore they're wanting to put into the game, posting updates on what they're working on for the next step in the game. So they've actually got a really good path of where they're wanting to take this game once we get out of the closed state. So it actually looks like it's going to be very promising, and it's going to be very unique for the free-to-play market, because there's really not a game like this that's free-to-play that's out. The closest thing we have is Monster Hunter World, and that's a AAA $60 game. So this is the closest thing. If you're wanting to play Monster Hunter World, but you don't feel like forking out the $60, this is probably one of the best things for you to try to play, either right now if you can get into the closed beta, or when it comes out later this year. But definitely with this being a free-to-play game and being very unique for this market, I highly recommend checking it out. If you can get into the closed beta, check that out. If you can't, just wait a little while longer. I'm pretty sure it's going into open beta here soon. And the developers are, from what I can tell, are awesome. They communicate with the community. They are always posting on social media, on forums, on the website about updates with the game. Just the other day they were posting pictures of using the mocap suits to try to get some motion capture going for the game. They're constantly posting about lore they're wanting to put in and changes they're wanting to make. So it's definitely a game where, even though it took me a while to get my foot in the door and to actually try it out, and I was a little bit hesitant about it, I'm actually really happy that I did, because the developers do seem to actually give a crap about the game and their players, which is something kind of refreshing when you've been let down by a bunch of developers for so long, especially in the free-to-play market. So it's definitely very cool in that aspect. But so I've talked about the gameplay, and I've talked about the way the game plays and how it feels, but let's talk about the technical side of it for a little bit. Now, this game runs in Unreal Engine 4, and I'm sure a lot of you know a lot of games that run in Unreal Engine 4, they take a while to get optimized. Unreal Engine 4 is a nightmare to work with. It's a great engine, but it is very hard to get optimized. But surprisingly, this game runs really well. The biggest problem I have with this game, or when it runs the worst, is in the city. For some reason, when you're in the city, which is highly populated, it drops down to around 30 frames per second. I mean, no matter what I've done with the video settings, even if I lower them all the way down, for some reason I'm only able to get about 30 frames per second in the city. I'm not really sure why it only does it when I'm in the city, but I have a good feeling it's got a lot to do with all the different people running around and all the different buildings and the environment. But when it comes to the actual hunts and the gameplay, I've ran this on 2 of my systems. I ran it on my big tower, and it runs great. But the main one I play it on is actually my Steam machine in the living room, which is a mini ITX build. I've got a GTX 1060 in it, and it runs it at 60 frames per second almost flawlessly. Even recording using Shadowplay, it'll run at about 60 during the hunts and stuff. So it'll dip here and there when I'm recording, but I mean, it runs really solid. Now, another big problem though is, because I like to play this on my Steam machine, it does have controller support. And this is a game that does feel really good playing with the controller. But especially in the city, the UI is a little bit buggy. There's a lot of times where you'll need to use the mouse and keyboard randomly. It's like you'll be going and hitting things with the controller, and it'll just stop working with the controller. So it kind of forces you to use the mouse and keyboard. Now, I've got one of those Logitech that have little touchpad things on it that is wireless, that I can kind of keep next to me, so it's not really that big of a deal. But if you're somebody that doesn't have something like that and you're interested in playing this with a controller, it can kind of be a bit of a pain to reach over and use the mouse to click things that you were wanting to hit with the controller. But aside from that, the UI being a little clunky and a little buggy here and there, there's really not a whole lot wrong with it. The graphics are a little fuzzy. Even at 1080p, they're clean, they're clear, but they have a little bit, it's kind of hard to explain, they have a little bit of fuzziness to them. I'm not sure if that was intended because of the stylistic type of art they're using. It doesn't really bother me, but I have seen some people complain about it, saying, oh, we want this to be clearer and not as fuzzy, but I think it's just the art type they're going with, and it doesn't really bother me. It still plays really well, still looks really good, so I don't know if that's just a direction they're trying to take, but I've noticed that with a lot of Unreal Engine games, especially with like hair a lot of times it just looks a little weird. Looks almost like eraser marks on a piece of paper. So like I said, I'm not really sure if that's something they're going for, if it's just the style they're going with. I actually enjoy it. I don't think it's that bad. It doesn't affect me whatsoever when playing the game. So I'm just going to have to wait and see if that's something they intended or if it's something they plan on fixing. But as for optimization, it does run really well, especially in the part where it really matters, which is the hunts. I mean, I can deal with 30 frames per second when I'm just going to the blacksmith or crafting potions or crafting stamina potions or any of that. So I can deal with 30 frames per second. It's really not going to bother me. I would like to see it get optimized in the city, but it doesn't really make it any less of a sell to me to play the game. So the main part is the hunts. Hunts run at 60 frames per second on a mid-range PC. I'm good with that. That's awesome. Especially using Unreal Engine 4. That's a pretty good step in the right direction. But one other big problem, though, is with this, and this is something I'm sure they'll fix. They've already got a small solution in here for it, which I'll explain. There are some spots you can get stuck in, and it's mostly in hunts. You can go between certain trees. You can kind of fall on the ground a little bit and get stuck, or you can go into holes. Actually, they just added a way where you can climb out of more shallow holes. You can climb up on ledges, which fixed most of these problems. But before they added that, I fell into a little hole, me and one guy did, and we were stuck there for about 10 minutes till we finally figured out that there's actually a solution for this. I guess this is something they're working on fixing, but until they do, if you hit pause and go to the help button, there's a help, I'm stuck. You click that, it gets you out of the hole. So they've got a small solution for it until they get that fixed. But it's just a small environmental glitch. It really doesn't affect anything, especially now if you know the help I'm stuck button's there. Doesn't affect anything really at all. But yeah, so it's pretty well optimized. It's got some bugs here and there. The biggest thing that needs worked on for me when it comes to optimization is just the UI bugs. I want to see the controller be fully supported and the UI be a little less clunky, but it doesn't make it unplayable, especially right now with it being in closed beta. I'm aware there's going to be bugs, so it doesn't really affect me. Whenever I find a bug, I'm not, oh well, I'm so mad about this. No, I'm to expect bugs. That's the whole point of this beta test. So that'll be something I'm sure will be worked out by the time it comes out. But now moving on past that, changes I'd like to see be made. There's only a few changes that I would actually like to see come out fully. One of that is to be able to have multiple characters on your account, maybe at least 3. Now, as it is right now, when you make your account, you have one character. That's your character. That's the only one you can play with. I would like to see them have different, like maybe 3 character slots. You can make different characters. Another thing is quick loadouts. Now, you can change your loadout when you're in the hunt lobby, change the armor you're wearing, change the weapons you got, change what items you're going to be carrying into battle. You can change all that, but it's all individual. I would like them to have a couple quick loadout selections so you can actually say, okay, well, I'm going against this creature, I'm going on a hunt against this one, and it's got frost ability, so I want something that's going to have armor that's going to have resistance to frost, and weapons that are going to deal more damage to frost. And then have those different loadouts in quick selection, so you can say, okay, I'm going against this needs to be my loadout. Because with all the different creatures, you can play very differently, with different weapons and different armor. Now, there are some patrols where you don't know what creature you're going out to hunt, so I could see maybe having a neutral loadout where it's just focused on damage and not so much any kind of resilience or offense. But yeah, quick loadout selection would be awesome. Another thing would be the wait lobby. I've noticed a couple times where there can be 4 of you in a lobby, and 3 of you ready up, and one person goes AFK, and you sit there for 5 minutes waiting for this hunt to start on its own. And then sometimes I've had it happen where I've gotten in a lobby and there be one other person in the lobby and I ready up, they don't. I sit there for 5 minutes, nobody else joins in, and then the hunt starts and that person was kicked for being AFK or has disconnected. So I'm going on a hunt against a tier 2 or tier 3 monster by myself, and I really don't want to do that. So then I end up having to leave, go all the way back to the city, then redepart again. So that's something else I would like to see them fix. Lower the wait time in the lobby so that you're not sitting there for 5 minutes waiting on somebody that's probably not even going to play, or allow you to actually halt the departure of the ship, especially if you're like the only one in the lobby. halt it even longer than the 5 minutes so you can give more people time to join in so you're not doing the hunt by yourself. Well, that's it for this video. I do plan on doing a lot more Dauntless videos in the future. This is a game I do feel like following and continuing to grow with because I really do like what they're doing with the game. So you guys will be growing with me as I'm playing the game because I'm still fairly new. I'm learning as I go. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. I'll try to get them answered. If you want any more information about this game, link will be in the description. Also, follow them on Twitter if you want. They also post updates on there constantly about things they're doing with the game, lore updates, changes they're wanting to make. Like I said, they're very vocal with the community, so check them out. If you can get into the closed beta and you're interested, I recommend doing it. If you can't get in right now, just wait a little while longer till it becomes open and you can jump in and play. It is a ton of fun. I do plan, like I said, on posting a lot more videos on this game in the future. And I'm sorry, guys, that I haven't had my new Sea of Thieves video put up, the Week of Thieves with Nathan. We have had a lot of technical difficulties with all this, trying to get everything uploaded. We had a problem with OneDrive, deleting some stuff, the DVR threw things out of order, and then we're also trying to sync up all the audio from individual mics because the DVR won't let us record with the mics. So we've ran into a lot of problems. We're just still trying to get it all cut together and edited. It's been very difficult. I'm still working on it. There's also another beta for Sea of Thieves going on right now, so I'm also trying to do more on that. But yeah, so I know I told you guys last week that I was taking my family on vacation. I did a vlog while I was down there in the arcade and stuff. I don't know if I'm going to end up posting it. It didn't come together the way I really wanted it to, mostly because I had to spend a lot of times focusing on my kids, so I wasn't really sure if I was going to be able to focus on them and focus on doing a vlog. So when it comes to my family versus my YouTube channel, my family is always going to come first. So I don't know if I'm going to end up posting the vlog. Because it really, like I said, I spent most of the time focusing on them. But thank you guys for tuning in. Friday Night Versus is currently being edited. We got that done, and it should be posted later tonight or tomorrow, depending on how long it takes YouTube to upload it, as well as encode this video and upload it. So hopefully both these videos will come up right around the same time, within a couple hours of each other. So look out for the Friday Night Versus. This time me and Nathan are playing Injustice 2. So check that out, and I will see you guys next time.
To go even further beyond!